The 7th Annual California Hall of Fame presentation is made possible by Visit California. California, dream big. The California Endowment. Health happens here, where we live, learn, work, and play. Learn more at calendow.org. Chevron, committed to the great state of California. Learn more at chevron.com/weagreeca. Sacramento International Airport. It's easy as SMF. Visit www.smf.aero for routes and information.
Good evening and welcome to the 7th Annual California Hall of Fame Red Carpet and Induction Ceremony. I'm Dina Eastwood, and tonight we're in Sacramento at the California Museum, the state's history museum, and also the official home of the California Hall of Fame. Named to the Hall of Fame by California Governor Edmund G. Brown Jr., the honorees' contributions to the Golden State touch on history, science, sports, entertainment, and more. The Hall of Fame was established in 2006. It's the museum's signature program celebrating those Californians who embody the Golden State's spirit of innovation and achievement. The honorees' accomplishments have left a mark on history and changed the world. Who's being honored tonight? Film legend Warren Beatty. Visionary designers Charles and Ray Eames. Labor activist Dolores Huerta. Celebrated native Californian Ishi. Football hero Joe Montana. Scientist of transdisciplinary complex systems Gregory Bateson. And motion picture innovators Warner Brothers. It's an exciting evening, and we're so glad you could join us for these special awards. The crowds have gathered, and we're all set to begin. Before the inductees take the stage at the Hall of Fame ceremony, let's spend a little time with them on the red carpet. What is it? What is the importance of having a Hall of Fame for our state?
Well, the news often works on kind of what's bad, because that's kind of news most of the time. But what's good is that California is the place of all these heroic people. Joe Montana, Warren Beatty, Ishi, all these great people. Gregory Bateson, who I knew when I was governor the last time. So there's all these interesting people, and hopefully more interesting people are going to come into California, as they have been for hundreds of thousands of years, and maybe we'll grow some right here too, because they heard of these heroes.
Scientist Gregory Bateson's daughter, Nora, says her late father's work impacts all of us. Tell me one thing or a couple things that your father would be very proud that we are going to be highlighting to the state with his exhibit and with this induction.
I think first and foremost is the diversity of the different sciences together. This is really important to begin to practice the task of looking at things from more than one perspective. To be able to look at our economic crisis, for example, and see how it connects to our ecological crisis, and see how it connects to our social and geopolitical crises.
Hollywood is being honored tonight as well. Honoree Warren Beatty is joined by his wife, actress Annette Bening. How many great resources we have, including you as one of our natural resources.
That's very kind of you. Very kind of you. Thank you. This is a better resource than I, and there's that.
Where were you before California?
Virginia. I came from Virginia.
And Annette, you're from Kansas?
I was born in Kansas, but I've lived in California since I was 7, so.
How old were you when you got here?
I was 142.
He was
I came here at about 20.
Oh yeah.
First time, yeah.
What did you notice when you got here? Was there a complete cultural liberation, or were people weird?
I noticed that people were having a very good time, I would say. Where did you come from?
I'm born and raised in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, and Annette and I went to the same college, so go Gators!
I gotcha.
We're San Francisco State University people. What do you favor the most at this stage in life? The production, the writing, the being at home with the kids?
That, yeah, being at home with the kids. Yeah.
He does, actually.
Yeah.
Well, he's being a little bit modest because he also is working and writing and about to make a picture, but he doesn't want to say that about himself, so I'll say it. But no, I mean, we have 4 incredible children, and like everybody else, that's the center of our lives. But work is important. It's great. And yeah, so I'm continuing to do stuff, but he's the one being honored.
And another Hollywood connection, the Warner Brothers, represented by Harry Warner's granddaughter, Cass Warner Sperling. You can't go anywhere in your day without being touched by something Warner Brothers.
Well, that's the 4 brothers. I mean, they were an incredible team. And these guys were, the thing that people don't realize is they were a team for over 50 years. So, you know, they started in the very beginning of the 1900s, and they came from nothing. What I love about their story is they came from nothing, and they had this huge dream, this dream that they should have never even conceived of. But every stop or challenge was an incentive for them to do the next thing, which to me is a philosophy of life, you know, which I like to let people know about and encourage them to have that philosophy.
Eames Demetrios, grandson of designers Charles and Ray Eames, is joined by a number of family members.
California has been very good to Charles and Ray. Ray was born here. Charles came here, and they came together, and it was a perfect place for them to explore their work together, explore their life together, and I think they kind of represent something that's, you know, some of the great qualities of California, the sort of collage culture meets garage culture. I think one of the really lovely things about both Charles and Ray is that they came from sort of almost Americana kind of backgrounds and ended up creating designs that are completely international and timeless. And I think that if you knew Ray, and you would immediately think of the word gracious. She was such a gracious spirit, and she was so much fun. And also, if you were interviewing her, she would, by this time, she would be asking you all about you. She would be wanting to know, well, what have you seen lately? What are the good plays that are out there? What dance performances have you been to? And you'd be like, no, I want to ask you. And you'd be, no. She was that curious about the world. And so she just had that beautiful energy and life force. And I think, we sort of thought she would be with us forever, which of course doesn't happen. So, but on the other hand, we have their work, and we have their home, and we have all these, not just memories, but actions that they took that we can help share with other people.
James Hayward, representing California's Native American tribes, is accepting the honors tonight for Ishi, a Native Californian whose life had a powerful influence on the Golden State and the nation. How do Yana people or people who are connected with the Redding Rancheria feel about Ishi being a cultural representative for them now through the Hall of Fame at the California Museum?
Well, it's mixed feelings. We have, we want to give our blessings to this museum the best way we can, and so we're here just to tell that story. I'm here to tell that story of Ishi and to let them know that that Ishi's spirit is still alive through his relatives.
Dolores Huerta was recently honored at the White House. She received the Presidential Medal of Freedom for her work in community organizing and helping to found the United Farm Workers Union.
California has been my home since I was 6 years old, and all of my work in organizing with the Farm Workers Union, with my own community organizing, this is where my heart is at, of course, and my soul is at here in California. And to be inducted in the Hall of Fame with all of these wonderful, great people, I mean, it's such a great honor. It's a really great honor.
And one of those being honored tonight is a famous 49er with a group of young fans just outside the museum. They, as many others, are here to see...
I think everyone looks around and sees people who are successful and think that it was easy. And it's something that if you go up, there might be one person who might get lucky every now and then and win that lottery. But in most cases, it's taken a lot of hard work and determination. And if you quit, you'll never make it to where your dreams are. Don't be afraid to dream, and don't be afraid, to want. But you also have to be willing to work hard to get to it.
So, time now for the ceremony to begin, honoring this year's Hall of Fame recipients.
Welcome to the 7th Annual California Hall of Fame Induction Ceremony at the California Museum. Please welcome Dina Eastwood, board member for the California Museum.
Good evening, and thank you all so much for being here in this wonderfully intimate ceremony in which we honor remarkable Californians of the past and present. These people reflect the Golden State's rich history, the accomplishments, and the promise of the future. We're so proud to be here tonight with the governor and our beautiful First Lady, Ann Gust Brown.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Governor Edmund G. Brown, Jr.
Thank you. It's great to be here with my wife and all of you and these inductees. I just want to tell you about Gregory Bateson. He was a person who saw the connection between the way people were organized and the way the natural world was organized. And all his writing was looking at that connection. A very inspiring, very exciting lecturer, teacher, friend, and I think it's just great that California puts him into the Hall of Fame because he, like so many people, came out to California, and this is where he ended up. And to take the award is his daughter, Nora.
Well, I just want to say thank you on behalf of the entire family. And I'm sure that my father, Gregory, would be deeply honored to receive this award, and particularly with such an amazing group of people. In the 50s and 60s, my dad foresaw many of the crises that we're facing today. In ecology, social issues, economy, and so on. And for him, these issues were a cause of deep concern. To address this complexity, another kind of thinking is necessary. Another kind of thinking spawned from a perception in which we're able to see the world we live in as an interdependent field of systems, within systems. And that was very much what he wanted, was to be a part of that kind of holism and the possibility of seeing processes in that way. So it's very fitting that he's put in the California Hall of Fame because this is a place where new ideas are embraced. Nice. And speaking of boundary breaking, during his 15 years in the NFL, this former San Francisco 49er quarterback threw 3,409 pass completions, had 31 fourth quarter comeback wins, scored 273 touchdowns, earned 4 Super Bowl rings, and is the only person named most valuable player in 3 Super Bowls. But beyond breaking NFL records, Joseph Clifford Montana Jr. will always epitomize grace under pressure. He's unflappable, uncanny, unstoppable. They call him Cool Joe. And the man has ice in his veins. Game on the line, fourth quarter, clock ticking. There was nobody more skilled at finding some way to win, and he proved that year after year, over and over again. He credits his parents, Joe and Teresa, with instilling in him the drive to, quote, never quit and strive to be the best, unquote. A California hero, and then some. The state of California proudly honors Joe Montana.
Well, thank you, Nora. You did that exactly like I wrote it for you. I'll start off by saying it's a tremendous honor to be here this evening. I'd like to thank our governor and First Lady for having me be a part of this ceremony. And I look around and, I talk to some of the media outside, and, I look at my co-recipients, and I'm still trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing up here. When I look back on it, I played as I say, a stupid game for a long period of time, and I was just having fun doing something that I enjoyed, and it's an honor that people respect the success we had, not just as myself, but with the 49ers throughout that time, and it's lasted a lot longer than I thought. Hall of Fame is something that's very, very special in some ways and scary in another way, because usually that's about the last honor you ever see. You become a part of another team, and I just want to congratulate all the other honorees tonight. It is very special. And now, get the honor of introducing our next recipient, Dolores Huerta. Yes, we can. Si se puede. For more than 40 years, those three little words, that simple sentence, coined by the woman sitting in front of you tonight, has been the rallying cry for hundreds of thousands of disadvantaged, marginalized, downtrodden, and poor, not just here in California, but around the world. And the saying endures, yes, we can, was the 2008 campaign theme of President Barack Obama, who in 2012 awarded Dolores Clara Fernandez Huerta this country's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Born in New Mexico, Dolores and her two brothers moved with their mother to Stockton when she was 3. Dolores graduated from Stockton High School and earned a provisional teaching credential at what is now San Joaquin Delta Community College. The faces staring back at her in the classroom changed her life. I couldn't tolerate seeing kids come to class hungry and needing shoes. I thought I could do more organizing farm workers than by trying to teach these their hungry children. Dolores has been an activist for nearly 60 years. In 1955, she co-founded Stockton's Community Service Organization. The Community Service Organization's executive director was a man named Cesar Chavez. He and Dolores formed what would become United Farm Workers, orchestrating a national boycott against table grapes in 1965 that eventually led to the grape industry signing a 3-year collective bargaining agreement with the UFW in 1970. Walk the street with us into history. Get off the sidewalk, Dolores said. Besides the Medal of Freedom, Dolores' honors include receiving the Eleanor Roosevelt Human Rights Award from President Clinton in 1998 and being named one of the 100 most important women of the 20th century by Ladies' Home Journal. The state of California proudly honors Dolores Huerta for her steadfast commitment to creating a better life for millions of Californians.
Thank you very much, Joe Montana, for that beautiful introduction. And I do want to say that when we talk about farm workers having dignity in the state, and not only were we able to get unemployment insurance for farm workers, as many of you know, farm workers didn't have toilets or cold drinking water or respirators in the state of California. And when it came to that momentous moment of having a law passed in the state of California so that farm workers could actually unionize, so they could actually get their own unions. And with my current organization, the Dolores Huerta Foundation, this is exactly what we do. We've gone back to basics, hiring organizers, training them, sending them into our communities where we have people that are there that don't really know that they have power. But once that they do learn that they have power, they're able to make immense changes in their communities. In our United States of America, there are still farm workers throughout the country that do not have the right to unionize, that do not have unemployment insurance, that farm workers here have in the state of California, and they are very, very far behind this state. And of course, this is why we're here tonight, to honor this great state of California and the heroes that we have here before us, because this is what makes us special, right? Because we are ahead of the rest of the country. And it's my honor now to introduce our next recipient. And this is so wonderful because the people that I'm going to introduce right now are actually folks that probably have changed our lives and that have affected every one of our lives without us even knowing it. So I want to introduce Charles and Bernice Ray Eames. They started by designing a molded plywood chair and ended by exploring the nature of the universe. That's how one writer summarized the career of two of America's most inventive designers of the 20th century. The couple's groundbreaking vision influenced architecture, furniture designs, photography, manufacturing, multimedia presentations, and classroom curriculum. Sacramento native Ray Kaiser was an abstract artist studying art at the Cranbrook Academy of Art in Michigan when she met Charles Eames, a St. Louis-born architect and instructor. They married in 1941 and began a prolific 37-year collaboration. The world-traveling couple was never limited to a single discipline. Eames might not be a famous name, but their furniture has been a household fixture for more than 60 years. Revolutionizing furniture design was just the beginning. From 1943 until 1988, the Eames office created over 100 films, numerous slideshows, toys, exhibitions, including IBM's pavilion at the 1964 World's Fair in Mathematica. The manuscripts, films, and more than 750,000 photographs now held at the Library of Congress show how this California couple gave shape to the 20th century. The state of California honors Ray and Charles Eames for redefining the words artist and architect and for inspiring great design the world over. Accepting on their behalf is their grandson, Eames Demetrius.
On behalf of the whole family, we're truly honored by this, this recognition of Charles and Ray. But as beautiful as the objects they designed are, the ideas behind them are just as beautiful. And I think that that's really what design as they practice it has to offer the world. And that's one of the things that keeps our family inspired by our grandparents' work, that there's still so much they have to teach us and to offer us. And California was indeed a beautiful place for them to do their work. They married in Chicago, and they came out to California. They collected a tumbleweed that I was telling you was still hanging in the Eames house today. My mother, it's definitely smaller, and my mom says when it gets to a certain size, we're going to have to go out and harvest another one, and the family is emotionally prepared for that. But I think that one of the things that was so important about this place for them was this combination of industry and opportunity, and they were entranced by all these things, and in a way they understood the information age was upon us. And then they said in the early 70s, after the age of information comes the age of choices. And that's exactly where we are today. And that's why design is important. It's not just a professional skill, it's a life skill. And Charles and Ray really represented that way of approaching things. And I wanted to share in that context two particular ideas. Charles used to say that the role of the designer was basically that of a good host, anticipating the needs of the guest. But they also said one of the challenges of the modern city today, and it's even more true now, is who are the guests and who are the hosts. And we were talking about the subways in Los Angeles and mass transit. Who are the guests and who are the hosts? So these design ideas are not just ones we take to make objects, but we take to really make lives and to make a community and ultimately to make a state. It was the joy of the process and the need for the work that drove all of them. And I think that's a connective tissue you see in all the people on this stage, and I bet a lot of the people in the Hall of Fame in general. There were a lot of jokes about names and long names and Joe Montana's long name and the full name of Dolores. But names in a different way, in a more intimate way, are part of the next honoree's story. The Native American known simply as Ishi had a powerful influence on California and the country, in life and in death. After emerging from the wilderness in August 1911, starving and frightened, Ishi was hailed as the last of his tribe and became a living window into one of California's first cultures, one that settlers had all but destroyed. In death, the repatriation of Ishi's remains and his ultimate burial in his ancestral homeland near Mount Lassen increased the sensitivity of the nation to honoring the rich traditions of those who called this land home before it was called America. Without question, Ishi is the Golden State's most famous Indian, except his name isn't Ishi. Sharing his true name would have violated tribal custom. So the two University of California anthropologists who brought the 50 or so year old Native American from Tehama County to the Bay Area called him Ishi, or man, in the language of the Yahi, the tribe of which Ishi was believed to be the last survivor. Eventually, once people learned of his existence, Ishi became an instant celebrity. Newspaper readers were fascinated by the reaction of the last wild Indian, as he was sometimes dubbed, to the modern world of airplanes, electric lights, and automobiles. Ishi contracted tuberculosis, which led to his death in 1916. Ishi's body was cremated and interred, but his brain was removed and sent to the Smithsonian, where it remained for 83 years. According to Yahi tradition, Ishi's body can't travel to the afterlife unless it's whole. In August of 2000, representatives of the Redding Rancheria and Pitt River tribes, Ishi's nearest relations, brought Ishi's brain home. With Ishi's remains reunited, a traditional ceremony was performed in an undisclosed location. Ishi was finally laid to rest in the lands of his ancestors, and he was finally able to complete his journey. The state of California honors Ishi for his courage, his ability to survive against great odds, and for representing the first Californians in the most dignified way possible. Accepting on Ishi's behalf is James Hayward, Cultural Director of Redding Rancheria and relative of Ishi.
Thank you very much. I'm going to do a prayer and a song, and I think that's the best way I can honor my relative is in prayer. We're very spiritual people, and Ishi was a very spiritual person. He personified the best in not only Indian people, but in human beings, you know, by being very, very forgiving person, very courageous, a very humble person, and so I want to touch his spirit tonight best way I can. I want to bring my son up here and my traditional uncle. Takari Hadachi, Damakamandaway Hadachi, Is Awe. We thank you, Creator. You're a loving Creator. We thank you so much for your blessings. We thank you so much for this place we call our mother. Mother Earth, for everything that she's given us. We ask tonight that we touch our relative's spirit and ask for the blessings that he's always given with a clean heart, a true heart. For all the things that he's been done, we ask for your forgiveness. All the things that's been done to him and his people, we ask for your forgiveness tonight. I ask for your blessings for this honorable place here. I like to sing a song. It's called the Creation Song. And it talks about the great love that the Creator has for Mother Earth. Hi, young ho, 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 hi, young ho. Hey, we see Takari Hidachi, hi, young ho, hi, young ho, hi, young ho, hi, young ho, Takari Hidachi Hayang Ho Hayang Ho Hayang Ho Hayang Ho Hayang Ho Hayang Ho. Hey, we see Takari Hidachi Hayang Ho Hayang Ho. So I'm going to introduce the next person. There wouldn't be a Hollywood as we know it without Hearst, Abraham, Shmuel, Ishak, Wansel, the four brothers who became Harry, Albert, Sam, and Jack Warner, started in the movie business 110 years ago, projecting images on tent sides throughout Pennsylvania and Ohio. In the 6 decades that the brothers ran their studio, they set numerous box office records and employed some of the biggest stars of the golden age of movies. Humphrey Bogart, Bette Davis, James Cagney, Errol Flynn, and Olivia de Havilland. The studio created the first four-legged film star, Rin Tin Tin, whose success led the brothers to dub the dog the mortgage lifter. Even so, Jack supposedly fired the canine after it bit him during a publicity tour. The studio has received dozens of Academy Awards, including 22 for Best Picture, and among them is Casablanca, My Fair Lady, Driving Miss Daisy, $1 Million Baby, and this year's Argo. The Warner Brothers library contains more than 6,500 films, including classics such as Bonnie and Clyde, A Streetcar Named Desire, Giant, The Matrix, Auntie Mamie, The Maltese Falcon, Unforgiving, Blazing Saddles, A Clockwork Orange, and The Wild Bunch. All of this stem from yet another amazing California success story. A Jewish family from Poland immigrated to the United States via Canada, searching for a better life. The older brothers, Albert, Sam, and Harry, fell in love with films and decided to make it their livelihood. One of the first movies they aired with their portable projector was The Great Train Robbery. By 1907, they owned the Cascade Theater, a converted retail store in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, where Albert and Harry sold tickets. Sam ran the projector. Jack sang during intermission, accompanied by Sister Rose on the piano. Soon there were 2 more Warner Brothers theaters in Newcastle. Eventually, the brothers owned 200 films and expanded their distribution to Virginia and Georgia. They realized that the one profit center missing was production. So the brothers Warner moved west and opened a small studio in a new Southern California town of Culver City. Their first hit was My 4 Years in Germany, based on the memoirs of an American ambassador to the court of Kaiser Wilhelm. It premiered in 1918 and grossed $1.5 million, nearly $23 million in today's dollars. Those profits helped pay for the purchase of the Warner Brothers West Coast studio on Sunset Boulevard. Shown the technique of syncing sound and film, Sam saw its greatest potential and spearheaded the studio's move to incorporate this technique. In 1927, with the release of The Jazz Singer, the Warner Brothers ushered in a new era in movie making. A special Oscar was given the studio at the first Academy Awards in 1928 for their revolutionary creation of talkies. As the studio grew, it needed more space, and it relocated its headquarters to Burbank, where Warner Brothers remains to this day. In 1967, Jack sold the studio to a group of investors for $32 million. Over the next 45 years, there were various mergers and owners, but it was always Warner Brothers. This year is Warner Brothers' 90th anniversary, and none of it would have happened without Harry, Albert, Sam, and Jack seeking their California dream. The state of California honors the Warner Brothers for their innovation in the movie-making industry, for creating the highest quality movies, and for that iconic line, "That's all, folks." Accepting on their behalf is Harry's granddaughter, Cass Warner.
Can you imagine 4 rascally little boys having an idea, not a penny in their pocket, and having this dream that someday they would make a difference in this world? Well, I had the privilege of knowing my grandfather, Harry, for the first 10 years of my life. And all I can tell you is that I've never met a kinder, more caring soul. Someone who not only considered family important, but he considered his employees an extended part of his family. And with this, I watched a man stop and speak to the janitor by his first name, oftentimes paying attention to the workers more than the stars, because he felt more comfortable, I think, with them, coming from the background that he came from. But these guys were big dreamers, and they had no right to have as big a dream as they did. But the thing that I learned about them is that every stop or barrier was an incentive for them to do the next thing, which to me is a philosophy of life. I hope to pass on by sharing their story in the ways that I have. I remember often my mother, who was the one who told me to come, to ask me to come tonight to represent the family. And if I could imagine the 4 brothers standing here, they wouldn't be fighting. They would be over this medal. They would be honored beyond words, because they would be felling, as they say in Yiddish, over just the fact that these guys managed to have this honor, to give this award, and to be in a wonderful place like the California Hall of Fame. My goodness. Anyway, I thank you so much from the whole family, and also want you to know that my grandfather in particular felt that film was an instrument of peace. And if we could make movies that actually allowed us to get into the skins of other people, that we would understand them, and then there could be peace. So that was very important to them. Their original motto for the studio was to make movies that educate, entertain, and enlighten, which is something that I hope to inspire in other filmmakers today. It's that important, because we reach so many people with this communication tool. And what's so exciting is we're really living in a renaissance today, because so many people have access to make movies and to share their viewpoints and their lives and their stories. Having now the incredible honor of introducing and present and actually introducing an icon. How do you like that, Warren? Legendary, talented, charming, charismatic. Charismatic? Do you like that? It's tough to find the right words to introduce a man who has won the Writers Guild of America Award for Best Screenplay 3 times. And those aren't the only awards he's won, by a long shot. The son of a drama teacher, Warren always seemed to possess a certain magic. At Washington Lee High School in Arlington, Virginia, he was a top football player and president of his class. While in high school, he landed his first job in show business, stagehand at the National Theater in Washington, D.C. His responsibilities included preventing any rats from entering the building. After high school, he went on to Northwestern University, but he left after a year to move to New York City, focused on becoming an actor. He studied with famed teacher Stella Adler. In 1959, he made his Broadway debut in A Loss of Roses. In 1961, he made his film debut in Splendor in the Grass. At 29, Warren helped reinvent the film industry with 1967's Bonnie and Clyde, in which he starred and also produced. It was an independent movie long before indie entered the filmmaking vocabulary. The film was nominated for 10 Academy Awards. Movies have not been the same since. After Bonnie and Clyde, Warren co-wrote and produced Shampoo in 1975, which was nominated for 4 Academy Awards. In 1978, he produced, directed, wrote, and starred in the movie Heaven Can Wait, which was nominated for 9 Academy Awards. In 1981, he received the Oscar for Best Director for Reds, the epic chronicling the journalist John Reed and the development of the left in America from 1915 to 1920. It received 12 Academy Award nominations. In 1990, he directed Dick Tracy, which was nominated for 7 Academy Awards. Where are all these awards, Warren? A year later, he produced Bugsy, which was nominated for 10 Academy Awards. In 1992, he married Annette Bening. They have 4 children. In 2000, Warren joined the select group of Hollywood legends who have received the Academy's highest honor, the Irving G. Thalberg Award, which honors creative producers whose bodies of work reflect a consistently high quality of motion picture production. He received the American Film Institute's highest award, the Life Achievement Award, and the Cecil B. DeMille Award from the Hollywood Foreign Press. He was given the Kennedy Center honor for his lifetime contribution to American culture. Last week, the New York Times called him, quote, easily the most politically active of his generation of actors, unquote. He has campaigned with Democrats since 1968, advocating gun control, campaign finance reform, greater equity in the delivery of health care, and addressing the increasing disparity of wealth. He once said, since I've been lucky enough to have an unusual amount of access since my early 20s, I've always thought it's a shame not to use it to learn from those in power, and then with humility and civility, irate, agitate, inform, and even once in a while encourage them with unsolicited advice. I was taught that good public policy was do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I was taught love one another was the point. Since the start of his film career in 1961, Warren Beatty has been nominated for 15 Academy Awards. Twice he's been nominated as an actor, director, writer, and producer of the same film. Reds and Heaven Can Wait. Orson Welles is the only other person to share that distinction, and for Welles it happened once, for Citizen Kane. By his own measure, Warren has achieved the California dream. As he says, you've achieved success when you don't know whether what you're doing is working or playing. The state of California honors Warren Beatty for expanding the cinematic landscape and for entertaining and enlightening audiences all over the world for over 50 years.
Nicely done. Thank you. This is a great honor for me, and I since I'm last and I don't have anybody else to introduce, I think I should obey the edict of Mr. Roosevelt, as in Franklin D., and be sincere, be brief, and be seated. But somehow I always get tempted at things like that, and you got to hold me back because I will attempt to be funny. And when you're talking about, you know, I never knew your grandfather because he passed away the year before I got to Hollywood. But I knew Jack Warner. I got to know him very well, and I can't resist telling some stories. The first one would be inappropriate, and you can just eat your heart out because I don't know you well enough. But that was the moment I met Jack Warner, and he was funny. But I thought he kind of knew who I was, and I had made a picture called Splendor in the Grass, and I thought I was a big deal, you know, and we were on a sound stage at Warner's, and there were lots and lots of exhibitors and people and a big audience, and he was going to introduce me. And he came to the moment. I was a little nervous, and he said, "And now I would like to present to you Warner Beaker." And I was a little bit put aside, but somehow it had an emotional resonance for me. So years later, I named the company Beaker. But the story I liked the most about Jack Warner was, you know, by now I'm still scared of him, but he does know who I am, and I'm going to do Bonnie and Clyde. And he's telling me a lot of stuff, and he's being very tough. And I say, well, I don't really agree with you about this, and I don't know about that. And he said, wait a minute. It's my name on the water tower, you know. There's a big water tower outside, you know, for fire. And I took a gamble. I stood up, I said, oh yeah? And I walked over to the window and I just kind of hoped. And I turned to him and I said, yeah, but it's my initials. And he was a lot of fun, and he was smart. And so then he came into where I was working on Bonnie and Clyde, and there were, he said, let me see what you got. And so I showed, it was just one scene of Rushes where Gene Hackman and I did what seemed like 20,000 takes because there was a filter that had gone wrong. And Jack said, well, why would you do that? He said, Bogey never would have done that. Why would you do a thing like that, do that many takes? And I said, well, you know, there was a filter. No, don't tell me about a filter problem. And it was, why did you do that? I said, well, we were just trying to do a good job. He said, okay. And he leaves. As he's walking up the steps, just before he got out of the door, he turned back to me and he says, kid, if you listened to me, you'd make nothing but flops. He was a lot of fun. So I can't help when I am in the presence of our governor reminding him. I don't know how often I have reminded you of this. I'm talking about Girardelli Square. Do you know where I'm going with this? Excuse me? Yeah, it's a what? No. I go back with this governor 41 years. I go back so far with this governor of California that I thought, since he preferred Muskie sort of to McGovern, I thought maybe he's a right-winger. Do you remember sitting in the Beverly Wilshire and we're talking about Muskie and McGovern? This is 70 or 71. Yeah? And anyway, I like to tell the story in Ghirardelli Square. I was there to introduce him. I can't remember, honestly, whether we were running for president or governor. I really don't remember. Because I was there for each of the campaigns. But I mean, I was really there. And there was a young campaign aide. The Ghirardelli Square was filled, and there was just going to be our governor and me on the stage. And the young campaign aide, a young man named Gray Davis, came back and said, we can't do it. We can't do it. We've got to stop. We've got to stop. And I said, what's the problem? He said, there's a guy with a gun in the crowd. And I thought, okay, me and Jerry, we're going to be there. And so what do we do? Jerry said, well, come on, let's go. And we went out. But I always thought, he's a courageous guy. But I got to introduce him, you know? And anyway, I could go through a lot of funny stories with...
But your time's up, I think.
I think my time is up. Yeah. So I won't do that. I can switch to the Reagan stories if you'd like them. I got a lot. I have Pat Brown stories. I go back. I have, you can only imagine, Arnold stories, and so I will refrain from that. I think the governor's having some thoughts here. So I won't do it, except I do have to say this, that I think the governor of our state is the most qualified chief executive in the United States. He's had more experience, and he is more, I've known a lot of, I've had access because I became famous early. So I've had access to pretty much everybody since 1960. I've known many politicians. I like to think I knew them all, but I have never known a more valid, more anyone to be more of the real deal than Governor Jerry Brown. With the possible exception of Annette Bening, who is sitting right here. So I can't tell you how honored I feel being asked to come here and be part of this group of heavyweights. So thank you very, very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the class of 2013 of the California Hall of Fame. Congratulations. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here. Thank you, Governor and First Lady. Thank you to our lovely inductees. We are definitely all in the presence of greatness tonight. I hope you all learned and enjoyed it as much as I did. And one more special moment in this eventful evening, a post-presentation party. The party gives honorees a chance to examine the distinctive displays on their life and work in the California Museum's Hall of Fame. The honorees tonight join the ranks of celebrated dreamers, legends, visionaries, and icons, all of whom have made California great.
California around the world is still a dreamland. It's a place of dreams, of miracles, and the people we honor, whether it's science or art or government or labor, these are the people that make stuff happen. And I see the Hall of Fame as building for the future, because we're not finished yet.
It's been a special evening for all of us tonight at the California Museum in Sacramento, honoring those Californians who've made significant contributions to the Golden State through their spirit of innovation and achievement. We're so glad you could join us. I'm Dina Eastwood. Good night.
The 7th Annual California Hall of Fame presentation is made possible by Visit California. California, dream big. The California Endowment. Health happens here, where we live, learn, work, and play. Learn more at calendow.org. Chevron, committed to the great state of California. Learn more at chevron.com/weagreeca. Sacramento International Airport. It's easy as SMF. Visit www.smf.aero for routes and information.